If a reserve list card is cheap, does that mean it's worthless or just not recognized yet? Well, in today's video, we are going to take a look at one reserve list card and see how good it could actually be. Stay tuned, we have a lot to go over in today's video. The reserve list is 572 cards of fun. No longer created, no longer represented, and reissued. They tried it last with 30th anniversary, and if you've been around for a while, you know exactly how that turned out. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thank you again for hanging out with me on my channel today. So how hard is it to break a reserve list card? What makes them so good? You know, whenever Wizards of the Coast produces a new card or a new set, and there is that possibility that some card on the reserve list gets broken by the issuing of the new card. When we had Yagra the Eater of All, Seeds of Innocence became the hot thing. This has happened as well with cards like Mind Over Matter. It really does depend on the wording of the card. How easy, how hard is it to break a reserve list card? Some of them are so linear in their way they're built, the way they're fashioned, that it's just never going to be broken. It's never going to become a thing. They may be on the reserve list, but nothing will happen with these cards. Many others could be cheap, very affordable, but nothing's come along to cause the catastrophe, the catalyst to make the card become broken. Those are cards that players tend to look at and say, is there a chance for that card? Maybe they buy a few copies. Either way, I thought we would take a look at a single card today. Spend some time talking about this card, looking at possible combinations and ways that this card can become broken. Yes, I understand this video won't be for all of you, but hopefully you stick around for a while and enjoy the conversation. Let's take a look at this card, guys. Yeah, we're not going big and expensive. We are taking a look today at Demonic Hordes from Revise. Now, of course, there's also Collector Edition, 30th Edition, International Edition, Unlimited, Beta, Alpha. It's the Horde, man. The name alone should get you going. Now, the highest it's ever been is 30 bucks US. You can see it right there on your screen. Now, this card, let's take a close look. Demonic Hordes, it says Summon Demons, and it is a demon subtype. It costs 6 to cast, 3 black, 3 other for a 5/5, and it has the ability to destroy lands, any lands you want. Let's not forget what this card can do. Forget that it's a 5/5 for 6. That looks so vanilla by today's standards. But that tap to destroy a land is brutal. Now, the pay 3 black during your upkeep, or the Hordes becomes tapped and you lose a land of opponent's choice. So you definitely do not want to not have land available for this thing. So this guy is a mana hog. Let's face it, to make him work, you need a whole bunch of mana. You need to get him out quickly, and you need to start eating your opponent's lands. Now, can this card work in Commander? Can it work in Vintage Legacy? How is it going to function? Well, if you start taking a look at cards that are put out there by Wizards of the Coast, the earliest days we used things like Instill Energy, an enchant creature card that said you may untap target creature one additional time during your turn. Target creature may also attack the turn it comes into play. We would start eating land, but look how slow that is. Even if you had a dark ritual to help pop this guy out early, it's still going to take a while. Plus, you better have the 3 black mana during your upkeep, or you're just going to pay the price of losing a land. So when you look at Instill Energy, though, yeah, it gives you that idea. Like, I can destroy 2 lands in a turn. I can get ahead of my opponent and start eating what they own, and that's a good idea. Crippling a mana base of a player is something that Wizards of the Coast really frowns on nowadays. They just don't do it very often. They haven't given us mass destruction spells. They give you singulars like a Stone Rain, Ice Storm, things like of the like, Fissure and stuff. Single attack modes. But this is not that. This is something entirely different because you don't have to pay anything to do this. You can just tap the Hordes. And when you tap them, they blow up a land. So how else can we do this? Well, when you look at Commander, and you look at some of the things that got going, okay? Here is Kalia of the Vast, a 2/2 legendary human cleric, right? But it says, whenever Kalia the Vast attacks an opponent, you may put an angel or demon or dragon card onto the battlefield and attacking, which means on turn 4, without any other mana ramp, you could get the Hordes out. Now, yeah, you're going to be attacking with him. You can't stop the attack, but you'll have them out on turn 4. If you got the black mana, that means on turn 5, he's already ready to go, and you're going to start hitting your opponent. Seems kind of slow, but it's a possibility. It can allow for a little bit of ramp. You build things around this, and maybe you've got something starting to appeal to your evil side nature of destroying land. Now, we've also got things like Rakdos, the Lord of Riots, right? He's a forecasting cost, but it says here, if you look at the bottom, creature spells you cast cost one less to cast for each life your opponent lost this turn. Opponents, sorry. So look at that. That's a different take, isn't it? We have the possibility there. We can get the hum and the haw and go, how is this going to work? Okay, we got a black red deck. Going to be heavy on this stuff. A lot of demons. Can we get the hordes out fast enough? Can we keep things going in a way that allow me to really manipulate and eat their lands? Because the Lord of Riots is coming out in turn 4. And if we can do some damage the following turn, that's a turn 5 again. It's, maybe a soul ring and some stuff. Yeah, it doesn't quite fit. Even with a mana crypt, which is now banned, it seems a little bit slow, right? So we start looking. You start taking a look at things. Here we have Thalia and the Gitatog monster. That's got first strike, death touch, great creature, forecasting cost 4/4. But whenever the Gitatog monster attacks, you sacrifice a creature or land and then draw a card. Okay, doesn't really fit, does it? It's just like, creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. And I can play an additional land on each of my turns. So the bottom ability doesn't really matter. The first are okay. But being able to play additional lands, well, we're starting to get that ramp going again. You can see how you can start synergizing multiple effects to get the hordes out. It's not a complete combination. It's a singular creature that would just be a little more devastating. All right. Now, the fact your opponent's stuff will come into play tapped is kind of nice as well. If you add this with other things that will mute and nullify their land advantage, okay, maybe we're still on to something here. It's good to see the human frog horror. Now, how about the Abysmal Harvester? Well, he's the 3 casting cost 3/2 Demon Warlock. And it says exile a creature card from your graveyard that was put there this turn. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a nightmare in addition to other types, then exile all other nightmares. Okay, so if the Hordes is in the graveyard, we now have a way of going back and getting it and bring it back onto the battlefield. And depending on how the Hordes got there that turn, I mean, the Spectre can help us out. He's not going to be a game all ender either, but that's another piece to help us get the Hordes back onto the battlefield or find a way of putting them back out there. I like this. I like the mode we're taking here. Now, Jandar's Saddlebag. Let's say we have the Hordes out now. Now, the Hordes does say that it taps destroy target land. Jandar's Saddlebag says untap a target creature. That's a pretty cheap casting cost. That's a pretty generic mana pool there to get multiple land destruction going. I'm feeling the thrill. I'm feeling a little bit happy about this. Okay, now let's go on though. Is there more? Well, now this isn't really our color combination, is it? But depending on what we're building with and how we're doing it, you can just pay -1 and untap a target permanent. Secura could really help us here. Now, it could be green or blue, so depending how we're building, it could be one or the other. It doesn't have to be both. +2 generic, a splash of something other than black. It doesn't have to be black-red. It could be black-blue. Before you know it, maybe we've got some possibilities again of getting this stuff out. And of course, there's more than one cure, isn't there? There's more than one way of getting things going. When I look at this and it says you can untap a target creature and up to 1 target land. Well, okay, we've got more possibilities. The idea of something like the Demonic Hordes is the idea you want to ramp him up and have him hitting people right away. You want to tie up your opponent's other stuff. You want to make sure that their lands are a little bit slower, their creatures have to be dealt with, that make them use up their kill spells so you can get the Hordes out like a turn or two later than they would expect. Now, of course, you've also got things like the Mage Right Stone. Now, this one says untap a target creature that has an activated ability with a tap symbol. Well, that's pretty awesome for us, isn't it? That's 1 to untap. Now, imagine you have multiple of these on the battlefield, and you're destroying 2 or 3 lands a turn. And imagine they have something that says any cards that go to the graveyard are exiled from the game. And before you know it, you are really starting to mess with people. Puppet Strings is another perfect example of how if the Hordes gets out, you have ways. Now, it doesn't even have to be the Hordes, by the way. See, they'll see this on the battlefield, and they'll see Puppet Strings, and maybe you have another creature that has that kind of synergy, that kind of ability to do multiple things, and they have to deal with that. The Hordes does not look threatening on its own. It's when you find ways of ramping up its untap ability to make sure that it is pounding on the opponent turn after turn. There's even Planeswalkers and cards that let you untap everything at the end of a turn, which means on your opponent's turns, you can start blowing things up. You can start using this as a strategic piece to nail them. Let me not get even started on Vintage and Legacy where you can have this guy on turn 1 and just start ramming on people, man. Like, this thing can be a brutal card effect. Now, if you look at cards again like the 1,000-Year Elixir, it's a 3 cast. It costs 1 to untap. You may play the activated abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Now, the point of this is to actually break a reserve list card takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of connecting cards nowadays to really make them go off, because most reserve list cards have very linear designated paths when they were designed. That doesn't mean that some of these cards can't be breakout winners in the future. And some cards, like the Demonic Hordes, are recognized as a land destruction tool. People will see it for what it is. It's having the other cards in the symphony of your deck to help it really go off and do what you need it to do, which is blow up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lands a turn if you can pull that off. And they just sit there in awe that they've been nuked by a singular creature that costs $5. Remember, not every card has to be expensive to have a winning combination. It is all kinds of different connecting cards inside your deck with multiple ways of getting what you want as the end result, which is to come out on top, to have a good time, to play, and to win the game, hopefully, in a fun way that players weren't expecting. I love cards like the Demonic Hordes. I like talking about this stuff, and I also understand, though, that this doesn't work for every reserve list card. I looked at over 70 that I just tried to find ways of making really work, and they just can't. Not the way we have the game right now, not the current collection of cards available, but there is always a chance the Wizards of the Coast does something spicy, and they mess things up. And those are great moments. They're fun. They're exciting to see the market react. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen each and every day. You can wait years in between. So let's just celebrate the fact that a card like Demonic Hordes already has ways of playing it. It's already recognized for the evil horde of a monster it is, and we still get to have fun with it for less than $10. Guys, thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. Thanks for stopping by if you're new to the channel. Hope you guys had a great time when you were here. Don't forget the Saturday top 10 is coming out. Crazy numbers, man. It's insane stuff. And of course, the reserve list top 10 is every Sunday. And of course, don't forget. I keep saying don't forget. I feel like I'm just a run-on wheel today. We also have the live stream, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Guys, have a great day. Go play some Magic. I'll see you soon. Well, this is a big thank you. This is the shout out period where you say, you know what? We made it to the end of the video. It's a Friday. Everything is good. And we get to thank the patrons of my channel, the YouTube membership members who make this happen each and every day, and the regular viewers who tune in, who give a thumbs up and drop some comments and a like. Guys, thanks again. I'll see you all tomorrow. Don't worry. We're here every day. It's awesome. So, here we are at the end of the video. I wish I had some major thing to talk about. To say, did you see that? But you know what? People will still pick this video apart. I know it. They will look at a card like the Demonic Hordes and see it as a linear way or a cheap way of winning. I can't get involved in that. These cards were invented. They were created. Somebody put it through the R&D department at some point. It was play tested. The fact that our players can't deal with it when it hits the board or don't recognize it as a threat early enough, not my problem. Same can be said for cards like Tabernacle, Pendrell Veil back in 1994. People didn't recognize it as a great card because we were all playing creature decks. Times change. Does the Horde deserve to be a $50 card? Probably not. But can it mess you up and win the game? It absolutely can. A lot of those combinations in multi-decks are very easy to do, especially in Commander. Don't get me started about how broken some of these cards can be when you build a multicolored deck around it. Just keep this stuff in mind. Let the other people just do what they want to do. I hope you guys have a good time playing. I hope you think about some crazy ideas and try to make them work. It makes the game fun. It makes it exciting. It makes you want to break out and try new things and experiment. And to me, that's the funnest part of the game. Trying something and just seeing if it works. And if it doesn't work, oh well, I lost a game. I tried something. Go back, try again. Love it. Love it. Guys, this was your Ramble Jamble. It was brought to you by PB&J because it might be a Thursday night and dinner's upon us. You know what I'm having? That's right, PB&J, because I feel like it. That's the good news about being an adult. The bills is the bad thing. But choosing to have peanut butter and jelly when I feel like it, that's what I'm talking about. Guys, have a great one. PB&J, baby.